Welcome to School Shooter. Written and narrated by Thorsten Nesch. A mini-series in 4 parts. 9:59 a.m. Ella's cheek sticks to a remainder of the shaft, and a thick cable lies against her chest. Her quick breathing stirs up the dust that still coats the sides of the burst conduit. A breeze blows through the tunnel between the new and the old buildings, making a muffled noise. It lets the cobwebs drift and the air cools her sweaty skin, and a shiver travels down her spine as she lightly shakes. Only then does she realize how tightly she is clinging to the cables that surround her. Pipes and cables poke out of the walls on every floor. Some of the cables end in bundles on a narrow cable tray, like the one Ella is resting on. Between the floors are rods and beams that are bent and thin. They look like they are holding the 2 buildings together, but they are so far apart it would be hopeless to try to crawl from one to another. Ella can hear water gurgling in a pipe above her head. She looks up and then glances over her shoulder. She calls out half-heartedly, "Hey, are you guys still there?" The sound of her voice calms her and she begins talking to herself. What are they doing? Are they going to leave me here? Don't you guys forget about me. Are they going to be rescued and leave me? Eventually I'd fall down. I'd be like an overripe apple at the bottom of a barrel. I'd be found 10 years later all dried out like a mummy. Are they getting the fire department? Hopefully. They will break down the wall next to me and pull me into the classroom, or whatever room there is. But what if they get caught by the killer? If no one survives? Then no one will be around to tell them that I'm here. No one will ever know what happened to me. She starts screaming. "Help! Help! Stay calm!" she hears Basti shout back. "Okay, as long as you're still there." 10 a.m. "Hang on," Basti reassures her. "Don't worry, I'll be right back." "Okay." Basti pulls his head out of the shaft and turns to the sink where Nina is washing her hands. She's rubbing them vigorously, especially around her nails where the blood has dried. She then holds her hands in front of her face. Drager and Waldhauser are sitting on the desk. Mark is standing in front of them. They all look at Nina in silence, expecting something amazing to happen. Basti approaches her from the other side of the room. He asks her, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" She nods. He looks at her a little longer, as if waiting to see if she will change her mind. When he gets no reaction, he walks over to the other 3. "I think we should stop her," he says. "It's her decision," answers Drager. "You were the one that said none of us would fit inside there." "So what's the point?" "You practically told her to go into the shaft," Basti says. "Me? No way," Basti whispers. "She is a little slow. Maybe she doesn't understand the risk she's taking." "Maybe, but she volunteered, so I'm not going to stop her," Drager says. "Exactly," agrees Waldhauser. And Drager adds, "The school says we should treat them the same. If that is not treating them the same, then what is?" Basti turns to Mark. "Do you agree with him?" Mark nods. Then his eyes go wide and he asks Nia, "Do you have a phone with you?" Basti quickly turns to her as Drager and Waldhauser jump up from the table. Nina rubs her hands with more energy than before. The water in the sink is now clear. The noise of the water almost swallows up her voice as she answers, "No." They all relax. Basti's shoulders droop and Mark clears his throat. She adds, "I lost my new phone last week. It was beige. Beautiful." Waldhauser breathes deeply. "Maybe somebody stole it." Basti and Mark look at Waldhauser. Gesturing with both hands, he asks, "How many beige phones are out there?" "Not many," says Mark. Drager sits down again. "But there also aren't many guys like you," says Basti. Drager stands up again and walks to the sink. He turns off the tap where Nina is still washing her hands. "Clean," he says to her. Then he turns to the others. "We have much bigger problems, don't we?" He looks from Basti to Nina, who uses her shirt to dry her hands. Basti begins, but stops short as Nina heads to the shaft. He follows her. Wait a minute. She kneels down in front of the shaft. What? What if that shaft burst like it did before? I'm fine. What do you mean you're fine? Drager interrupts. She said she is fine. She's lighter than Ella, so it won't collapse under her. With those words, Nina pushes herself into the shaft. 10:01 a.m. Nina drops down and crawls easily through the conduit, going around the curve of the shaft effortlessly. Now's not the time to be scared or to panic. This is my chance to do something that no one else can. They need me. I'm needed. And they're counting on me. I won't disappoint them. Somewhere up ahead, real close, Ella is waiting for me to help her. Nina can see the end of the broken shaft and the outline of Ella's shoe. She moves closer. Before she can see Ella's head, she hears her voice. Who's there? Me. Who? My name is Nina. The girls look at each other. Did you hurt yourself? Nina asks. Wow, she was very lucky that she landed on those cables. How will I get her out? How can I help her? I'm afraid to move. That fall must have hurt her. A little bit, says Ella, looking over her shoulder, frightened and confused. Be careful. Who are you, anyways? Did the guys open the door after all? Did you knock? Did you... No, I was hiding under the sink. The sink? On the little cabinet? I should have come out earlier, I know, but I didn't. Sorry. I only came out when I knew I could help. So you were under the sink the whole time? Were we... Yes. I was the first one in the library. I was afraid of being found. Basti calls out to them. Nina? Ella? What's going on? I found her, says Nina. Ella continues to hold the cable wiring as she says, Yes, we're together. Can you give me your hand? Asks Nina. Ella shakes her head. No, I can you pull me up by my leg? I can only help push with my arms. Yes, I hope I can do this. I'm going to hold on to her legs so tightly like I've never held on to anything before. Ella carefully moves her legs together so that Nina can grab both feet. Pull on my legs. To brace herself, Nina hooks one leg into the curve of the shaft and props the other knee against the wall of the conduit. This has to go to work. It has to. Please, work. On 3, says Ella, wrapping her hands around strings of cables, the sinews of school's communication system. What are you doing? Asks Basti. We're trying it. I'll push forward and she will pull my legs. Okay. 1, 2, 3. They both say. Water gurgles and swishes through the pipe above Ella. Nina's fingers slip on Ella's damp skin and she loses her grip. Ella's shoes slip off. One shoe hits Nina in the face, then bounces off the wall and silently disappears into the depth. The second shoe also ricochets off the walls and pipes on its way down. It's my fault, Nina says. I should have held it tighter. I wish... Nina. It's not bad. It's not that bad. Nothing happened. Nothing really. Those were just my shoes, Nina. What is it? Basti calls through the tube. I just slipped, Ella answers. We're okay. Nina's lip is bleeding from a small cut. She touches it with her fingers. Does it hurt? Asks Ella. Nina nods. The water stops gurgling through the pipe. Basti, this isn't going to work. 10:02 a.m. Basti closes his eyes for a moment, then turns to find Waldhauser giggling. What's so funny? Waldhauser doesn't answer. Basti follows his gaze over to Mark and then to Drager, who is standing by the sink and zipping up his pants with a big smile on his face. Did you just take a piss? Asks Basti. No, I tried to take a sip of water with my lizard. Waldhauser bursts out laughing. Drager turns the tap on to rinse out the sink. Basti touches his forehead and points to the shaft. How can you laugh right now? They're both in there and you're... Drager turns the tap off again. Yeah, the ladies aren't around and I'm a gentleman. But if I have to go, I have to go. You can be glad we have a sink in here. Mark taps Basti on the shoulder. If Nina and Ella can't do this on their own, the least we can do is give them a rope or something. That way Ella can tie it around her and we can help pull her out. Basti gives him the thumbs up and a friendly punch on the arm. He then crouches down at the entrance of the shaft and calls out, Is everything okay? He hears a relieved, "Yes. We're going to look for a rope or something. I'll be right back." "Quick," Ella responds hollowly from down the shaft. Basti beckons with his hands as he looks at the other 3 guys. "Come on, everybody, we need to find a rope." Drager raises his hand, palm out. "I think you're forgetting something. We're not on a ship here. This is a bookstore." "A library," Mark corrects him. "We don't have a rope in here, but we can see if we can find an electrical cord or something." "There are plenty of old electronics in the closet," says Basti as he marches around the desk towards the storage room. The 4 boys are not gentle as they go through the boxes, looking for a rope or a wire or a cable. Boxes and computers bang and crash around. Mark notices Drager looking at him. "Why are you staring at me like that?" "Cord," he says as he saunters up to him. "So? You were smarter than I thought. We didn't think you would be that smart. Did we, Waldhauser?" "Nope." "Oh, thank you," says Mark. Drager continues. "What made you think of an electrical cord as a rope?" "In Chinook days, a burglar used a cable to scale a wall." "Which movie is that?" "Not a movie, it's a book." "Then the book must be not that good." "Yes, it is. Do you think they make movie out of every good book?" "Yeah." "Then why are there so many crappy movies?" "Here," Basti runs from the room, trailing a long cord that rattles and clatters behind him. He drags it along the ground, banging it against door frames and chair legs. Basti heads straight to the shaft entrance. He cries, "Ella, Nina, I found something." When he looks down the shaft, Nina has crept back a bit into the corner and looks at him from over the shoulder like a contortionist. "Here, catch," he says, and throws her one end of the cable. She catches it, thanks him silently, and heads back to Ella. 10:03 a.m. Nina hears Basti shout to Ella, "Wrap the cord around your body as tight as you can." Within seconds she is at Ella's feet. Ella's toes cling to the edge of the burst conduit as if they can stop her from falling. Nina tries to come up with a solution. "If I balance myself on the cables that hang out here, I'll be able to get to the other side of the shaft." "Nina, forget it," says Ella. "I know what you're thinking, and just forget it. It's too dangerous. Come on, just throw me the thing." Nina pulls on the cord until she has a couple meters in her hand. She takes the plug end of the extension cable and lets it dangle for half a meter. Then she swings it slowly back and forth a few times until she lets it go. It arcs over Ella's feet. The end bounces off a piece of metal, misses Ella, and dangles in the dusty dimness below. "Try again," says Ella. "What's happening?" Basti calls. Nina does it again. This time the end lands on Ella's shoulder. Ella grabs it with one hand and holds on it tightly. Nina turns around and shouts down the conduit. She has the cable. "Tell her to take as much as she needs. We have quite a few meters to work with. Do you hear me?" "Yes," say the 2 girls at the same time. Ella carefully takes the cord in one hand and slowly pushes the end under her waist. With her other hand she grabs the cord and slides it across her stomach. She repeats this until the cord is wound around her torso twice. Ella makes a thick knot with the ends of the cable and tightens it. It pulls tightly against her hips. "How's it going?" asks Basti. Fine, replies Ella. "You ready?" Basti shouts down again. "Almost," she says, as she tightens the knot in the cord with all her strength. "How much longer?" "Be quiet," Ella says, and then looks at Nina. She checks again to make sure everything is ready. "What do you think?" Nina says. "I hope the boys will hold the cable tight, it won't break, and the knot will hold." "We can do this," says Ella to Nina, and then yells, "Basti?" "Yes, pull the cable tight and hold on." The cable tightens. "Are you ready?" asks Ella. "Yes," Basti responds. "What are you doing?" asks Nina. "I'm going to pull myself up and try to reach you, then you can help me. You sit down like you're riding a horse with one leg on each side." I can't look down here." "Okay, good," Ella says. She carefully presses her legs together around the extension cord. Suddenly, the cord tightens and she teeters, almost losing her balance. She steadies herself and takes a deep breath. "Are you okay, Ella? How are you going to get back here into the conduit?" Nina says. "I'm fine." Ella gently pulls herself along the bundle of electrical cords. As Ella relaxes, Nina takes up the slack in the cord, and Ella's feet are back on the edge of the burst shaft. Pulling and sliding inch by inch, Ella gets closer and closer to the stable part of the shaft. Her legs slide through the arches of Nina's raised knees. A little bit more, and her butt is back inside the conduit. Nina and Ella are hip to hip, legs entwined. Only Ella's upper body still rests outside the conduit. The thin rails of the cable trough still dig into Ella's shoulder blades. Nina, are you ready? You're going to have to help pull me up so that I end up sitting in front of you. Brace yourself. Ready? Are you ready? Here I come. Ella grabs the extension cord with both hands. Hand over hand, she pulls slowly, pulling herself into a seated position. With her weight resting on her hips and backside, her face is just inches from Nina. That was a good idea of yours, says Ella. Yes. Ella puts her hands on the floor of the shaft and smiles. Nina smiles back, and with her hands she pushes herself back down the conduit towards a turn. They untangle their legs, and she extends her arm towards Ella. She grabs the arm and gently slides the last few inches to safety. Nina scrambles backwards like a crab, using her hands and feet. She goes around the bend and out of the conduit. With her small frame, she has no trouble slipping back into the library. Hey guys, start pulling me out, shouts Ella. I don't have any room to turn around, so you're going to have to pull me out feet first. The boys start pulling the cord, and when Ella gets to the bend in the conduit, she has to twist her body opposite to the way she had done so when she first entered the shaft. I see her, yelps Basti. He reaches into the darkness of the conduit and grabs one of Ella's legs. He pulls enthusiastically. Hey, not so rough, shouts Ella. As soon as there's room to help, Draga grabs Ella's legs and pulls along with Basti. Pushing and guiding herself with her hands, Ella is pulled backwards. Once she gets her hip through the opening, she almost pops like a cork back into the room. 10:04 a.m. Happy, relieved, and exhausted, they are lying on the floor. Basti leans against Mark. He wipes his hands over his face. Mark stares at the ceiling, his chest heaving with deep breaths. Ella lies on her stomach, draped over Mark's knees. Her eyes wander around the library as if she is seeing it for the first time. Her left foot lingers in the hole that leads to the conduit. She notices it and quickly pulls it out as if somebody could pull her back in. Ella's arm rests on Nina's back, who is face down with her head lying on her folded arms. Waldhauser and Draga flank Nina's lower body. Waldhauser still holds the electrical cord with one hand. The cord elegantly winds its way around the tangle of bodies. The blunt end rolls back and forth between Waldhauser and Draga until Draga stops it with his hand. Their ragged breathing is out of place in the library. Basti scratches his head and says, "What kind of shit did we get ourselves into?" replies Draga as he sits up and crosses his arms around his knees. "Welcome back," says Mark. Everybody slowly gets up. Ella is first. She sits cross-legged, leaning against the wall right next to the square hole that leads to the shaft. Mark sits up into a cross-legged position. Waldhauser lets go of the cable and looks down at Nina. She's the only one not moving. He taps her on the back. "Hey!" Nina moves her head and stretches like a cat. She crawls backwards on all fours, backwards until she can sit against the wall on the other side of the shaft entrance. Nina wraps her arms tightly around her legs. "I didn't do anything to her," says Waldhauser. "I just touched her because she wasn't moving." He's looking around for confirmation. Ella bursts out. "Nothing works here. Nothing works in here. We can only wait until he comes. God, it was deep down there. Dark. My necklace went down my necklace." Ella's trembling fingers brush the sides of her neck. She opens her mouth in a silent scream as tears well up in her eyes and fall to the ground. Mark's arm reaches out to her, but he also can't hide his feelings. He puts his face in his hands and sobs. Basti looks at the two of them. He places his hands on their shoulders and says, "Hey, pull yourself together now. It won't be long. We can do this. We've made it so far, so we'll make it through the rest okay. Right? Come on." He turns and looks around the room. "I'm right? "Yeah, sure," replies Draga. Nina stares straight ahead. "People," says Basti emphatically. He gently shakes Mark and Ella. He wipes Ella's tears with his sleeve and puts both his hands on Ella's shoulders. "The main thing is you're out of there, and we're back together, thanks to Nina." Ella looks at Nina. Basti gently puts his hand on Nina's shoulder too. "You were amazing, thank you." Nina looks at Ella from the corners of her eyes, blinks. Ella asks her, "Do you have a phone?" Everyone in the room says no. "Were you really hiding underneath a sink the entire time?" "Yes." "What did you do in there? Did you just listen to us?" "Yes." Wow. 10:05 a.m. Nina looks at Ella intently. Finally, she asks, "Why did you tell them you were in class when you were in the bathroom, like I was?" "What?" "You were standing in front of the sink when I came in." All eyes focus on Ella as she pushes herself up against the wall. "That's none of your business." "Yes, it is," says Drager. "There's a killer out there running around shooting people, so tell us why." "Why I was in the bathroom?" "Why did you lie?" "Women's business." "What's that?" asks Drager. "If you don't know what that is, I can't help you." Basti intercepts. "Are your feet cold?" "Yeah." "Do you want to have my socks?" "Well, better cold than smelly." Everyone laughs, even Nina. "Basti the women whisperer," says Drager. "I merely wanted to try to talk yourself out of that one," Drager interrupts him. "Why is a library in this room now?" Nina asks. "Construction," answers Mark. "What construction?" "All-day school. Next year this will be an all-day school. Haven't you heard?" "I've heard, but what does that have to do with the library?" "If we're here all day, we need a place to eat." "So the library is going to be here permanently?" Nina asks. "No, this is only temporary." "I thought so." "What?" After a beat, she says, "It shouldn't stay here in this windowless room." "Up there are windows," Drager says. "Those are slits, not windows." "The books are our windows to the world," says Mark. "Oh, crap," says Drager. "I asked the librarian when he showed us the place, and that's what he told me." "Go figure." Ella looks at the disassembled power outlet next to her and at the wires protruding into the room. "Thanks to Waldhauser, I'm getting electrocuted here after escaping the shaft." Nina looks along the wall beside her. She doesn't see a power outlet, but she does see a white plastic cover peeking out from behind the sink. There's a small socket right in the middle. Drager sees it too. He gets up quickly and rushes over to the plastic cover. "What is it now?" asks Ella. "Do you have to pee again?" asks Basti. Drager turns to the others. "No, but that's a phone jack here. If we can find a phone, we could call someone." "So what are you all waiting for?" "Let's look for a phone," Basti says. 10:06 a.m. Waldhauser heads over to Drager and they dart to the storage room again. Ella and Basti move towards the cabinets that are blocking the door. "We look over here." Mark glances at Ella, whose bare feet are making soft shuffling sounds on the floor. "Do you think we'll find a phone in the cupboards?" she asks Basti. "I don't know, but there are lots of unopened boxes around. They can't be all full of books." He opens the doors of the cabinet and pulls a box out. The cardboard flaps pop open to reveal a bunch of different editions of Homer's The Odyssey. He closes the box and says, "Oh, okay, next one." "Sounds like the story of your life," whispers Ella. She's making no effort to find a phone. Basti bends down to open another box and asks, "What is that supposed to mean?" The box is full of old coffee cups. The white porcelain is stained by years of stale coffee and black tea. Basti says as he pushes the box back into place. "Okay, next one," Ella mimics his tone. Inside the storage room, Drager and Waldhauser are crushing everything inside. All that the others can hear is the sound of breaking plastic. Nina and Mark search the aisles. "What's your problem?" Basti asks. "My problem?" says Ella, raising her eyebrows. Basti moves on to the next boxes. "I should be the one who's angry." She laughs briefly. "And why is that? Because you're the one who didn't call me?" "Of course I did. You didn't answer." "What? Didn't I answer?" "My text." "I didn't get a text message." He leans his elbow on a shelf. "Sunday afternoon." "Which Sunday?" "Sunday in the year 2055. Ella, the Sunday after the party." Ella's trying to understand his sarcasm. "Did you delete your sent messages yet?" "I don't think so." "So then you can show them to me once we get out of here." "What about trusting me?" "Trusting you? Excuse me, but this is coming from a guy that follows me around like a lost puppy for weeks until he gets what he wants and then never calls. I did call you." "We'll see. I thought you wanted nothing to do with me." "Sure," says Ella. From the closet, Drager shouts, "A phone! We got a phone!" "Pretty old, but it should still work," Drager says excitedly as he marches out of the closet, proudly holding a bright green phone in his outstretched hand. He throws a cord over his shoulder, almost hits Waldhauser behind him. He rushes over to the telephone jack beside the sink. Ella and Basti are right behind him. Nina and Mark come out from behind the shelves and join the crowd. They all crouch down next to the sink. Basti asks, "Does it have the right jack?" "If it doesn't, I'll make sure it does real quick. The main thing is that the cord is still on the phone." Drager holds up the end and says, "Bingo." He puts the phone on the floor and plugs it into the socket. Waldhauser, who is sitting right in front of the phone, picks up the receiver and holds it to his ear. "Hear anything?" asks Mark. Waldhauser grins. "We have a dial tone." "Then dial," orders Drager. Waldhauser puts his finger carefully into the holes of the round dial, one after the other. 9, 1, 1. Ella puts her hand on her mouth, trying to hide a laugh. Mark's lips are quivering and the corners of his mouth are turned up. "Oh boy," groans Basti, rolling his eyes and raising his eyebrows. "What?" says Waldhauser. Drager remains serious as he asks, "So, is it ringing?" "No, just the dial tone." "I wonder why," says Drager. Basti, Ella and Mark cover their mouths, trying not to laugh out too loud. "Try again," Drager says. Waldhauser tries again. Gently he sinks his fingers into the holes of the round dial. 9, 1, 1. "Let me guess," says Drager. "Still a solid dial tone?" "Yeah, how do you—" "I always thought you were pretending to be that stupid, but now I see that you really are. You weren't born, you were made. I bet after your brother was born they said, 'Here, Miss Waldhauser, take the afterbirth and mix it with a pound of flour, put it in the oven, bake it until it's ready and you have another one.'" Nina stops laughing. She clears her throat and says, "That wasn't very nice." "You're right, being stupid is not nice." Waldhauser tries to get a word in, but Drager doesn't give him a chance. He grabs the phone and pulls the receiver out of Waldhauser's hands. "Here, look, you were doing fine when you put your fingers into the dial, but this is a rotary phone," Drager says. "You have to turn the dial like this." Drager dials with his index finger. 911. Everybody stops laughing. They watch Drager. His eyes narrow. With the palm of his hand, he puts the phone on the hook a few times and dials again. "What is it?" asks Mark. Drager doesn't respond. Instead, he slams the receiver down, picks it up again, and dials a number one more time. He waits, then slams the phone down. "Shh, the thing is broken. Connection is fine. We have a line out, but the dial doesn't work. You can't dial any number at all." "That's not possible," says Basti. "Try it yourself." And they all try, and no one succeeds. Drager leans in and pushes his pudgy fingers into the space between the wall and the sink. The pipes squeak, but the sink moves enough for him to reveal another socket, next to the phone jack. "Idiots," he mutters. "This one is for the internet. The computer's right there." He points to the desk. "Where's an Ethernet cable?" 10:08 a.m. "I think I saw one in there." Waldhauser jumps up and goes straight to the storage room. "I'll get it." "I'm excited to see what he finds," says Basti. Drager thinks out loud. From a ball of a yarn to a hairdryer, it's all in there. But Waldhauser is hardly gone when he appears again with an internet cord between his arms. "Broken. The plug is kaput." "Show me," says Drager. He swings a damaged end towards Drager, who grabs it, skillfully looks at it and says, "I could fix that. Don't give up. I need your Swiss." Waldhauser reaches into his pocket and slaps the red Swiss Army knife into Drager's open hand. He goes to the desk, turns the computer on, and waits for it to boot. With the sharp scissors of a Swiss Army knife, Drager cuts at the cable end. Mark watches Drager closely as Drager switches from the scissors to the little knife. "Should we keep our fingers crossed or pray that it works?" Ella says. "Praying with crossed fingers," says Basti. "It's going to work. Just relax. Chill out. Give me a minute." Drager observes the screen as if he wants to hypnotize the machine. Ella clenches her fists. "Please." And on. Drager turns back to the wire and gets really close to it so he can see exactly which wires to connect. Ella asks Waldhauser, "What's the verdict?" Waldhauser gets up and says, "Can I plug it in?" "Second." "What does it matter if you're ready or not?" asks Mark. "Hold your horses," says Drager. "So this is how it's going to be," says Ella. "Shut up." They throw each other nasty looks. Just Nina's head hangs down. "You okay?" Mark whispers. Nina nods. "Ready," announces Drager, and he hits his fist against the sink. Waldhauser bends down and plugs the other end of the cable into the computer. He gets back on the chair. Everyone stands around him. He moves the mouse. and clicks on the internet browser button. Nobody breathes while the computer tries to access the internet. The site opens, and they all let out a quiet cheer. "We did it," says Basti. On the browser homepage they read, "Shooting at local school." "Click on it," says Mark. Waldhauser clicks on the link. Nothing. "Well, at least they know about it," says Basti. "Wouldn't it be interesting if they didn't?" says Drager. "Now what?" Mark asks. "Let's order some pizza," Basti says. Everybody glares at him. "The cops, of course, the cops." 10:09 a.m. Waldhauser types "police" into the search engine. Ella asks, "Shouldn't one of us be sitting in front of the cabinets by the door?" "Don't worry, I don't believe anyone is able to move them to get in," says Mark. The first link that comes up in the search engine results as a police website. Waldhauser clicks on it. The cursor zips across the screen until it stops on the email button. Waldhauser clicks a button and the arrow turns into an hourglass. The hard drive makes a few guttural sounds and the site opens. Field by field, graphic by graphic, it slowly builds up on the screen. "Oh, that's surely slow," says Drager. "Come on," Waldhauser shouts to the computer. The name and the subject fields are visible, but the hourglass has stopped. Waldhauser shakes the mouse. Nothing. He taps on the keyboard. Nothing. "Frozen," he says. They swear. "Try it again," says Mark. Waldhauser holds the start button and the computer shuts down. He then restarts it. The same thing happens again. They all curse again. Waldhauser restarts the computer one more time. "This must be a bad joke. We can't call or email the police," says Basti. "We can email someone else," says Drager. "Who?" asks Waldhauser. "My father, at work." Waldhauser stands up and lets Drager on the chair. Once the computer is working, he accesses the email account. He has 134 unread emails, mostly forwarded YouTube messages from his channel. The subject line reads, "You have a mean jab, man, and that nose was pulp." Drager clicks to open a new message. He types the email address of an automotive shop into the address box and starts the mail. "Help. Shooting at our school. Tell my father I'm still alive, along with 5 others, in the library." He turns to the others. "Good?" "Well, library has a Y at the end, not an I," says Mark. Drager's hands remain on the keyboard as he gives Mark the finger. "Write that he should also call the police," says Basti. "Okay," says Drager. He types. "Tell him to call the police. The killer is Mark." "Hey, you asshole, hey, are you crazy?" blurts Ella. Drager laughs and deletes the last sentence. "I'm just kidding, you asshole." "That's not funny," says Mark. Waldhauser chuckles to himself. Basti tries to hide a grin. Both Ella and Nina turn to glare at him, rolling their eyes. He's signing with "Urgent, Drager." "That's it." "Send it already," says Basti, "and don't close down the site. We need to see when someone replies to us." "That's a good idea," he says, and clicks the send button. Basti taps him on the shoulder and says, "My turn." They switch places and Basti logs onto Twitter. He mutters to himself and then says, "Thousands will read it here." "That's great," says Ella. "The problem is that everyone I know is in school right now." "Right." Basti logs onto his Twitter account and writes, "Help, there's a killer running around at the Tesla High School. I'm one of 6 survivors trapped in the library. Call the police." "Now it's my turn," Ella tells Basti and takes his place on the chair. She opens another email account and sends a message to her entire address list. "Help, call the police. There was a shooting spree at the Tesla. We're all trapped in the library. Ella." She gets up and Mark sits down at the computer. On Google he searches for the website of the newspaper. There's already a posting of the shooting. "Oh, super," says Basti. They might be the first to respond. He emails them. "Shooting spree at the Tesla High School. There are 6 of us hiding out in the library. Let us and the police know when you get this message. Regards, Mark Steinhaus." He stands up and offers Nina the chair. She hesitates. Ella nods to her. Mark says, "Come on, you too." Nina sits on the edge of the seat. She moves the mouse with only 3 fingers. Even the clicking seems to be quieter. Facebook opens and she writes as a reply to the wall's question, "How are you? I'm trapped in my school library with 5 others. There was a shooting spree in Münster at the Tesla High School. Please call the police. Help. Thank you." Before she posts the message, she looks around for confirmation. Basti and Ella give her the thumbs up. "Excellent," says Ella. Waldhauser sits down and goes to classmates.com. He clicks on a flashing light in a small red box at the bottom of the screen and a chat window opens. picture of a long-haired guy covered in mud and dancing in a crowd appears with his name next to it. Tudorinsky, says Waldhauser. Of all people, he's online. What? Asks Mark. I knew it. What? He's not at school with us? Tudorinsky doesn't go to any school. He decided that school wasn't for him. Wasn't for him? How cool. Since when? About half a year ago. How you know him then? Asks Basti. We're neighbors. Waldhauser types, Hey, call the cops. Here was a shooting at Tesla High. I'm in the library with Drager and 4 others. Go. Get back to me ASAP. He looks really easygoing, says Mark. That was last October, at the concert. Wow. He clicks the send button. Hopefully he believes me. What's not to believe, asks Mark. Basti knocks on the table. Check the other websites. Maybe someone posted a response already. Waldhauser goes back to the other sites, but no one has posted anything. Suddenly the classmates.com website tab flashes. Hey, Tudorinsky wrote back. Immediately everyone looks at the screen. They all read the response. Ha ha ha, ha ha, ROTFL, and a bunch of signs. He definitely didn't believe you, Mark says. No, he's just high. So early in the morning? Yeah. Really? How do you know? Is he always? Wonders Mark. Nope. But he did add the doped up looking smiley with a mushed up brain and the joint in the mouth, didn't he? Yeah. Let him know we're serious. Really serious, says Basti. If you say so. Waldhauser types, Tudorinsky, we aren't kidding. It really did happen. Call the cops. They don't have to wait long for a response. Yeah, right. Ha ha ha. Lol lol lol. 10:10 a.m. He is stoned to the gills, Waldhauser says. Should I write him? Asks Basti. No, there's no chance you'll get a real response from him now. Check out the other websites. Waldhauser opens one website after another, but there are no new responses. Shh, everybody's in school now. No one serves at this time of the day, says Basti as he slumps against the wall in frustration. His eyes glance across the sunlit window. Waldhauser curls up his nose. Do you smell that? What? Smoke? Don't say that, Ella says. They all take a whiff. Did the killer? No, says Drager, and he bends down and sniffs the hard drive. This is where the smell is coming from. It's probably because it's old and dusty. Basti stands next to him. This is taking way too long. Let's check one more time, and if no one has responded, we'll have to think of something else. What do you have in mind? Asks Mark. We need to get out of here. How much longer can we wait? I'm going with you, says Drager. Are you crazy? Ella says. Basti looks at her. Don't you realize we are like sitting ducks here? No, we just don't let the freak get in here. What if he sets the school on fire? Waldhauser begins to sing. Hooray, hooray, the school is burning. Drager stops him with a nudge. A fire would be a distraction and we end up suffocating, says Basti. The fire department would get us out, says Ella. Really? Not through those windows there. Then we would get out by using the door. We can use the door now. No, she says, there is no reason. Oh, so you would want the smoke to fill the hallways, making it impossible for them to rescue us. I think we should take a chance, says Drager, and Waldhauser nods. Fortunately, says Ella, I can't take any more chances today. Drager says, Waldhauser agrees with me. He has no option. He agrees with everything you say. He does not. No, I do not, says Waldhauser. Point made, says Ella. Mark butts in. I think that this is a good idea. We go out together as a group. Without me, Ella insists. What about you? Basti asks Nina. Nina is overwhelmed. They are all looking at me. What should I say? I can feel the blood rushing to my face now and my ears. I probably get red. I always get red. I want to go back and hide under the sink. It wasn't that bad and nobody questioned me. Ella puts a hand on Nina's shoulder. Nina, talk to us. What is it? Says Basti. I would rather go back to hiding under the sink. Waldhauser and Drager start to laugh. Mark joins in. Basti just scratches his head. Ella concludes, in other words, she wants to stay here. In other words, says Drager, she's a little cuckoo. You're all cuckoo, Ella retorts, and then looks at Drager. And you're an idiot. She takes Nina by the arm, and the two of them walk away. The screen flashes. A response. Drager, your father, says Waldhauser, who immediately opens the message. The boys get close to the screen. Ella and Nina come back. This isn't my father. This is from a colleague. Together they read the email. Sven, your father is busy with a client, so I would count your blessings that he didn't read your email. You should be ashamed of yourself. You have gone too far this time. I've known you since you were born. You were a really good kid. I don't understand what's gotten into you these past few years. You have everything you want. Stop this nonsense. Take my advice, go back to school, and don't cause your parents any more grief. Grow up. Come and visit us any time. It's been a while. Regards, Enzo. Drager takes a step back from the computer. Everyone is now looking at him. He stands very still and stares straight ahead, as if he's seen a ghost. Bravo, says Ella. This is what happens when you're a shit kicker all the time. Basti raises his arms. What do we do now? Do we get out of here, or what? When he doesn't get an answer, he yells, Let's go! 10:11 a.m. You don't really want to leave, do you? Asks Ella. Sure, says Basti. Mark taps Ella. Do you think the shooter has been waiting by the door the whole time? I don't know. Do I look like the weirdo to you? She asks back. No, he says, but I'm pretty sure he's not at the door. We've just sent emails for help, she says. You saw the responses. Those were only the first two. I don't think the other responses will be any different or anytime soon. She leans against the desk. I do. We haven't heard anything out there for a long time. No one is there anymore. That's what makes me suspicious. If all is well out there, then the police would have been running through the hallways by now. I don't see it that way. And Ella pauses. Then, instead of going on, she nods to Nina and shrugs her shoulders. We're going, announces Basti. Together, says Mark. No, Ella says. Let's take a vote, Basti says. Are you going to be democratic about this? How else? I'm only asking. Normally you're like anti-political, but now you want to play the Democrat? Who wants out of here? Basti asks around. Mark lifts his arm, then Waldhauser and Drager do the same. Guys, please. You lose, Ella. Let's move those cabinets away. Without hesitating, Basti marches to the cabinets, with Mark and Drager following behind him. Waldhauser sits by the computer. Nina and Ella remain standing on the other side of the room. The guys lift the cabinets so that they slide quietly and smoothly across the floor. Then they all gather in front of the door. You coming? Asks Basti. Waldhauser jumps up and walks past the two girls. Nina? Ella? Nina takes a step towards the door. Ella doesn't move. I lost, but that doesn't mean I have to go. Nina stops and turns to Ella. Basti claps his hands. That's a bunch of bull, Ella. No, it's not. I'm staying too, says Nina. Girls, Basti says loudly, and then he mumbles softly to himself. I can't believe this. It's not a big deal, just go. We can't leave you two alone. Why not, she says. Basti looks at the others for help, but they all look away. Ella says, It's because we are girls, isn't it? What do you mean? Don't worry, we can take care of ourselves. I remember you in the shaft. I promise we won't go into the shaft. Basti turns to the other boys and they huddle together and whisper. We can't leave them alone here. Why not? Asks Waldhauser. Basti gives him a look and says, I will spell it out for you later. We could split up, suggests Drager. Two of us stay here and the other two go. And who's staying and who's going? Asks Basti. You and I will go and... No, interrupts Waldhauser. I'm going, no matter what. Okay, then it's you and me, says Drager. I have an idea, says Basti. Do you want to go alone? Yes. One would be enough, says Mark. Then I can go, says Drager. Or me, says Waldhauser. I'm going, since it was my idea, says Basti. You're not the boss here, says Drager. Ella calls out, What are you all mumbling about? Basti turns to her and says, We have to make a decision. About what? 10:12 a.m. Basti walks over to Ella, followed by the others, to see what is going on out there. If we aren't all going, then one is enough. So? So you choose, Ella. I have to pick? Yes. Forget it. Why? What do you think? If I say you go and the rest stay and something happens, then I have to live with it for the rest of my life. Then I'm to blame because I picked the one. It's out of question. No, never. She leans against a shelf with her arms folded and her legs crossed, staring at the boys. A spaghetti strap slips off her shoulder and she pushes it back with her index finger. Ella realizes that she hasn't put her blouse back on. It's between the cabinets and the sink. She picks it up, shakes the dust off, and slips it on over her shoulders. So? She asks. Something has got to give, Nina thinks. Everyone wants to leave. There's no one standing by the door anymore. Anyone can come in. Who would I pick if they ask me? I would pick Drager, but I don't want to think about something could happen and how I would feel about it. It's better this way. Nina, hello, Basti calls. Yes? What do you think I ask you to do? To choose? What? Choose I should decide who goes. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Asks Drager. Another way. There has got to be another way. How else? Nina shrugs and turns away. Ella walks over to her. But Mark stays here, says Drager. Why? Well, because of your... Drager points to his foot. So what? I'll drag my foot a little. What if you need to run? Don't worry. I didn't notice your limp at all, says Ella. Have you always had it? No, normally it's not as noticeable. I wore the wrong shoes today. How did you get your limp anyway? Asks Basti. I have it from birth. Well, I've just thought of something, says Ella with her eyes closed. Since you're all determined to leave, the first one to tell me the color of my eyes goes. All the guys stand in shock with their mouths wide open. Come on. Are you still there? Does this mean that no one of you looked into my eyes? Green, says Basti. Blue, says Drager. Ella opens her eyes. Disappointed. Brown, chestnut brown. Men, boys, so the whole time that we've been talking you haven't looked into my eyes? You don't even know the color of my eyes? Basti raises his hand. The lighting is bad in here. The lighting is bad in here? The light is fine. The boys are bad in here. Excuses. Basti, you're digging yourself into a hole, she says. Drager snaps his fingers. Come on, give us another question. She looks at them, one by one. Okay, you want to have another chance? I'll give you another chance. I'll make it a bit easier this time. Whoever answers first gets to go. Listen up, here's a big question. How many boobs do I have? What? The guys ask in unison. Don't you understand the question? Have you all forgotten how to count? Or were you going to say that they were so small you can't even tell? Do you want to? 2, says Mark. Did I hear 3? 2, I said. Right. So you get to go, Basti says, patting Mark on the shoulder. That is if he wants to. If he doesn't, then he doesn't have to, says Ella. Mark's eyes find Ella's. She smiles at him. You don't have to. If the coward doesn't want to go, then I'll go, says Drager. I'll go, says Mark. I'll go. 10:13 a.m. Mark's hand holds the door handle tighter than necessary. Later, he says. Hopefully at the entrance before the school, says Drager. By the tree. Yeah, maybe there, Drager. Basti, looking worried, says, and if you run into the, I lead him in a wild goose chase anywhere but here. Respect, says Waldhauser. Good luck, Ella says as she hugs him goodbye and gives him a kiss on the cheek. He breathes in her scent. Basti pats Ella's shoulder. What was the kiss for? Was it because he knew how many boobs you have? Something like that, Basti. Mark nods to them and gently opens the door. He peeks into the hallway as he opens the door wider and wider. Without looking back, he leaves the library and closes the door softly behind him. 10:14 a.m. Mark stands by the door for a second and listens. He doesn't hear anything coming from the library, and there's nothing unusual going on in the hall. The big fluorescent lights always hiss and crackle a bit, but in the silence he can hear every sound. His eyes track along their path on the ceiling, judging and listening. The lights run down the corridor like the sleepers of a train track in the sky. Every fourth or fifth light flickers on and off with a flash and a crackle he's never noticed before. Dried paper slugs and mini paper matchstick stalactites drip from the discolored ceiling. Chewing gum mortar punctuates the graffiti written on the white spaces between the old dark red bricks of the hallway walls. Wooden pegs beside classroom doors still hold the jackets and sports bag of unknown students. Only the silence, the emptiness, and a pair of orange sandals in the middle of the floor show that this is anything but a normal day. The only daylight that filters into the hallway comes from windows hidden around the corner by the bathrooms. Mark takes a couple of deep breaths and takes a step forward. The scuffle of his shoes seems to echo through the silence of the hallway. He pauses for a moment, puffs his cheeks as he breathes out, then in and holds his breath as he crosses the hallway. In a few steps he is standing with his back against the wall near the men's washroom. He wipes his sweat from his forehead. The library door rattles in its frame. Mark freezes and stares at it. 10:15 a.m. Waldhauser sits with his back against the door. He's crossing and uncrossing his legs again and again. Beside him, Nina pretends not to notice. Drager goes to the computer. I'll check our only link to the outside world. Ella and Basti standing nearby, watching him. Ella whispers something to Basti, but he doesn't hear. She pulls him behind some shelves. Where are you two going? I'm sitting here all alone by the door in harm's way, complains Waldhauser, but he gets no response. He looks over to Drager for an answer. Drager has his legs up on the table in front of the computer like a boss. He moves the mouse lazily with one hand. There's a big smile on his face. The pale blue and white light of the monitor reflects in his eyes. He scrolls through a long list of replies in Basti's account. Drager finds links to political and anarchy blogs and magazines. There are links to political conspiracies, demonstrations, boycotts, instructions for political disobedience, and interrogations. Everything is there, from stone throwing to making Molotov cocktails. Nice to see you're happy, Waldhauser comments. Oh, yes. Why do we have to sit here in front of the door? He might still be out there. No, I mean, why us? Why? He points to Nina and himself. Drager clicks the mouse. 'Cause if the door opens and you're blown to bits, it won't be a major loss to society. Waldhauser's mouse tightens with disapproval. He looks at Nina and crosses his arms. Can I ask you something? Nina says softly. Sure, says Waldhauser. You talked about a beige phone when I was hiding under the sink. So what? What kind was it? Samsung. Was there a small crack in the display? There is no expression on Waldhauser's face. That was mine, she says. Can't be. You stole it from me, right? I didn't lose it. You stole it. Am I right? Am I? Now I won't get a new one because of you. I'll organize you a new one. No, you're going to tell my parents what really happened. No, I won't. Yes, you will. Or I'll tell somebody, like the principal. Waldhauser bangs his head against the door. He looks over at the shelves hiding Ella and Basti. What are you two whispering about back there? We're having an adult conversation, Basti replies, sticking his head out from behind the bookshelf. He ducks back behind the shelf too quickly for him to notice Waldhauser giving him a finger. You think he really recorded us? Asks Ella, nodding in Drager's direction. So what if he did? Sure, it's cool if you're a guy, but it makes me look like a slut. Damn right it's cool. Oh, damn you. The muscles between Ella's cheekbones and jaw quiver as she grinds her teeth. Why didn't you call me or answer my text? Because I was thinking so many things at once about you, about me, Basti. You could at least have said hi when you saw me at school. When you didn't answer my text, I thought it would be better to leave you alone. So was I just a one-night stand? She says between clenched teeth. Drager calls over to Waldhauser. Nina tries to hold him back by grabbing his pant leg as he stands up, but it doesn't work. Waldhauser pulls himself free. Only if you wanted to be a one-night stand, Basti whispers. Ella and Basti stand very close to each other, their bodies stiff with tension and anticipation. A slight movement of Basti's hand causes it to brush against Ella's fingers. Her fingers wrap around his, and they smile at each other. Basti moves closer to her. Across the room, the door slams open, and Nina skids across the floor, slamming into a nearby bookshelf. 10:16 a.m. Mark stands panting in the doorway. Nina slumps down and lies on the floor with her back towards him. Drager jumps up from the computer, sending his chair skittering and tipping behind him. Waldhauser swirls around. Motionlessly, they stare at Mark in the doorway. Ella and Basti grab hold of each other and stand still like two statues carved out of one rock. Mark quietly closes the door behind him. So? Drager asks. Shit. What? Why did you burst in here like the killer was after you? I panicked, that's all, he says. There's no one out there. No one. I've never seen the school so quiet before. What do you mean, no one? Says Drager as he continues to click the mouse. The hallway is quiet. As Ella and Basti untangle themselves from each other, she asks, Did you look out the window? Did you see anyone by the school? Is it surrounded by police? No, yes, only 2 officers, no more. We are not surrounded. Mark pauses. Did you two have your fun? Did you wave at them? Ella asks back, ignoring Mark's comment. She moves over to Nina and crouches down beside her, checking to see if she's okay. No, because the shooter could have seen me from the other side of the building. Ella helps Nina up. But you could have. Then why don't you go? Mark says. He moves his attention to Nina. I'm sorry, are you okay? Nina rubs her back and nods that she's okay. Why did you come in here? She asks Mark and then turns to Waldhauser. And why did you get up and leave Nina alone at the door? Drager called me over. Besides, I didn't want to see you two making out. What? You're crazy. Here, says Drager and raps his knuckles on the computer screen. Waldhauser got a reply. Here it is. He reads the response out loud. Man, are you serious? Or are you just pulling my leg? Not funny if... The screen flashes and goes black. The broken fluorescents in the closet flicker one last time before dying, and the hum of the computer's hard drive goes silent. Drager pushes the power button on the computer over and over again. Mark flicks a switch for the library lights a couple of times. Waldhauser peers into the dark storage room. Nothing, no light. Mark says what everyone is thinking. We have no power anymore. This must be a cop trick, states Drager. What did it say? Asked Waldhauser. Who was the email from? I don't know. I was just reading it. Mark puts his hand on his forehead and rubs it, hiding his eyes. What did it say? How should I know? I barely saw it. I was just starting to read it for the first time. I wanted to read it all. You always read ahead with your eyes when you read out loud. That way your eyes are always ahead of your mouth. You must know more, Mark says. Maybe that works for you and not for me. School Shooter, written and narrated by Thorsten Nash. School Shooter is available as short novel on Kindle and as pocketbook on Amazon with my other novels and audiobooks. Link is in the description. The novel was translated by Heidi Gertz, edited by Andrea Kubala. The music you're listening to is by Max Wuerden with the track It from his album All Lost. And if you have listened up to here, I dare to imagine you like what you heard. Then please like it or subscribe or write a little review. It would be amazing. Tell others, share, or even consider purchasing this novel or another one of mine, of course. However, thanks for listening. And if you have questions or comments, just drop a line. Thanks. Cheers.